What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for life. Coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got some football focus. The Pittsburgh Steelers just finished up their Week 2 matchup with the Denver Broncos, and it was a lot closer overall than we'd expected, especially considering the injuries the Broncos had come into the game with, and they also got during the game. This game was well in hand in the first half. Pittsburgh dominated. The defense looked like the dominant Steel Curtain defense that I have a lot of faith in, that I think is a top 3 unit in the entire NFL this year. Everything was going smoothly. Some of the play calling was a little bit rough in the first half. Also, a few penalties kind of stalling drives out was a problem. But we had a very solid, I think it was 17-3 at the half. Should have even been like 24, 27-3. But wound up being 17-3 in the first half. Seemed like all was going our way, and then all of a sudden we had some breakdowns in the second half. Continued bad play calling, getting behind on the count in offensive drives. A turnover, two turnovers on offense, which gave Denver good field position. Us not capitalizing on our field position, and Denver taking advantage of our defense once it got tired, made this game really, really close. Final score: Pittsburgh does get the win at 26-21. But it was quite the nail biter that it shouldn't have been, especially considering that Drew Lock, who I think could be something special for Denver going forward, got injured in this game. They came in with Cortland Sutton already banged up. Sutton got injured again in this game and did not come back from what I saw. Jerry Jeudy got injured in this game and did come back. The backup quarterback for Denver, Jake Driscoll, was in for almost the entire game and made it pretty competitive. Shout out to him for playing pretty well in this game. This was closer than it should be, but at the end of the day, you know what? We still had a lot of positives on both sides of the ball. We still got the win. You beat who's on your schedule. Should have been a lot easier. It wasn't, but we're walking out of here 2-0, and we're staying healthy right now. So you got to feel pretty good about that. Offensively, here are some numbers. Big Ben, 29 of 41, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did throw 1 bad interception. And I don't think he was sacked in this game. I did not see any sacks. There might have been one. But I didn't see any sacks in this game. I have to give the number 1 game ball on offense in this game to the offensive line. And we'll talk about them again in a second. Running the ball, James Conner, 16 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. 2 weeks, 2 different 100-yard backs on the ground for the Steelers. That's encouraging. Deontay Johnson, 8 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Chase Claypool, 3 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. Juju, 7 catches, 48 yards for offense. So, game balls. Number 1, again, the offensive line kept Ben on his feet. There might have been 1 sack, but I didn't see any. Really nice overall. Minimized penalties on the line. There were a couple, mostly on the tight ends. I saw McDonald had 1 holding penalty, and Eric Ebron had 1. I think Matt Filer had 1 as well. But minimizing penalties on the line, keeping Ben on his feet, Ben having a lot of time. Even on the interception that Ben threw was a bad read where he forced the ball and it got picked. He had like 7 seconds to throw the ball on that play. So, offensive line coming in with 3 injuries. DeCastro was already out for Filer. And then we had Zach Banner, who's now out for the season. And a third person also was hurt, I believe. So, we had 3 subs on the defensive line, playing without a lot of our line. And the makeshift line did a great job today. Major props to you, offensive line. Again, Ben played a pretty good game. Every time they kind of had this, they had a nice little thing working with, they were doing some pick plays for some crossing routes across the middle. They were doing a lot of comebacks to the ball, a lot of cutting off the route short, delivering really good short passes. Ben was dinking and dunking nicely in this game. Used Connor a couple times. Connor caught, I think, 2 or 3 balls for some nice plays. Juju catching short passes, extending the play. Deontay Johnson extending the play. Washington, who wasn't listed here, but he caught a couple nice short ones. They ran the short passing game very nicely. But every time they extended the ball and went downfield, like they did on a deep pass to Claypool, which was an 84-yard touchdown. Claypool using his body to get nice separation and then staying in bounds and finishing the run. Excellent play. 2nd week in a row for a big-time downfield catch for Claypool. So he's becoming a big deep threat already. Washington, again, making tough catches. I like what he's doing. Deontay fumbled the ball again. This week. It was the 2nd time in 2 weeks that Deontay's had an early fumble, starting the game off with a fumble. He's got to fix that. But he came back just like he did last week with a nice game. Big, like 25-yard, nice touchdown grab in the end zone to put the Steelers ahead for their 26th point. 92 yards. He led the team today. Made a lot of nice plays, a lot of nice hands catches across the middle, so he redeemed himself as well. Connor overall, he did look much better this week than he did last week, obviously, but still the 106 yards is misleading because he had a put-away run in the fourth quarter where he got a nice block from Ebron and from Derek Watt on the inside-outside, and he ran the ball and cut back and then stayed in bounds. He ran it about like 60, 70 yards on one play. So if you take that, let's call it a 65-yard run, you take that one away, you've got, 15 carries for 40 yards. So it's not a very impressive day overall, but that one run made it very impressive. But you look at the 106 yards and a touchdown, and then you also look at the fact that he had like 3 catches as well and extended the play on third downs. Gave him a much better game. So it's still some misleading numbers, still not what you want to see consistently out of Connor, but he did look much better this week. Benny Snell not getting many looks. I think he had 3 carries for 5 yards this week, not getting in the game, and one of those 3 carries that he had was a fumble. So that's not going to help his stock. What a difference a week makes, right? Last week, Benny Snell was the 100-yard hero and Connor got hurt. This week, Connor's not looking too good, but he's getting all the carries. Then he breaks a long one, and then Snell fumbles on one of his very few carries. So this week, it's kind of reverse of what it was last week. So we'll see how we sort the running game going forward. I think Snell's the better overall running back, and Connor's not going to stay healthy, in my opinion, but I hope that he does. So pretty interesting there on the run game. Again, the offensive line, big props to them. Defensively, we did allow 21 points, but some of that's misleading just because the defense was getting tired after a while. The offensive play calling was really rough in this game. A lot of handoffs on like second and long. We got behind in the count due to like a holding penalty or something like that. It'd be like 2nd and 20 or 2nd and 16, and Ben's either doing a draw play or he's throwing some little check down to the running back for like -2 yards. It happened like 4 times in this game. The play management makes no sense here. I understand you don't want Ben to throw it. He threw it 41 times. You don't want him throwing it 50 times a game. But you cannot do your predictable draws and your shotgun handoffs when it's 2nd and 16, 2nd and 20. Now you're leading to 3rd and 18, 3rd and 22. The drive's over. You're forfeiting the drive by bad play calls. At least have Ben throw another one of his short passes, which was working all day, and pick up 8 to 10 yards and make it third manageable. I don't see why you wouldn't stick to what's working. Every time they went for the short passing game, it opened up something downfield and Ben could extend the play. And those drives were the best drives. But the combination of bad play calling and then having holding penalties stall drives, which in the second half we opened up 3 drives. One of our drives was on the Denver 10-yard line due to a turnover, and we settled for a field goal on the 10-yard line. Then 2 of the other drives were on the Denver 48 and 43. We got the ball on the Denver side of the field and wound up twice with no points. You cannot have that happen in the NFL, especially considering Denver's a team on the rise. In spite of their injuries in this game and how they've started 0-2, Denver's a potential wildcard team in the AFC this year. They've got some nice pieces to build on from last year. Locke had a nice run last year. Denver's not a bad team, and you can't make those mistakes. I want to give Denver some credit on their offense. Again, Driscoll played pretty well. Pretty solid game. He had a couple throws downfield. Melvin Gordon played well against us. I think he had 70 yards on the ground. He had a really rough spurt in the second and third quarters, but he had a couple of nice runs in the first and fourth. Also caught a wheel route pass over the top of Devin Bush for a touchdown. So he had a receiving touchdown and 70 yards rushing. Noah Fant also was abusing Bush. Devin Bush overall had a nice game on run stopping, and I think he had a couple nice hits on the quarterback. He hit the quarterback's arm, which almost caused a pick. So Bush played well today, but in coverage, he had a hard time. He had the touchdown given up against Gordon, I believe, and he also had the touchdown and the 2-point conversion given up to Noah Fant, who played well in the later in the game today. It took Denver a long time to find him. Once they did, Bush had a hard time covering him, which I understand the size difference there. Cortland Sutton playing injured did catch a nice deep ball. I think it was over. It was either Hayden or Nelson. Nelson did bounce back this week. He had a rough game last game. Didn't play perfect today. Neither did Hayden, but both were okay. So Denver made some things happen on offense against us today, which was surprising. So defensive stats, sacks. T.J. Watt 2.5 sacks today. Pittsburgh's D had 7 sacks on the day. Really impressive. 7 sacks and 2 turnovers. Good stuff for the D today. Lots of guys to shout out on the Pittsburgh defensive side of the ball. T.J. Watt 2.5 sacks. Mike Hilton, who played great overall today, had a sack. Bud Dupree with a sack. Terrell Edmonds with a sack on fourth down in the fourth quarter. Nice play there. Tyson Alualu, who played great today, had a sack. Cam Hayward had a half sack. Bud Dupree had a forced fumble. Mike Hilton, who I mentioned earlier, had a fumble recovery. And Joe Hayden had an interception. So fumble recovery, interception, and 7 sacks for the D today. Did give up a couple touchdowns when they were tired, so not as clean of a game as you'd hope. Six times for the defense, they bailed out the Denver offense on penalties. They were playing the ball pretty clean, but when it got down to third down, they bailed the team out with a lot of pass interferences. Minka Fitzpatrick had 1 or 2. Edmonds had 1. Hayden had 1. Devin Bush had 1. A couple were questionable. You could say 2 of them were questionable calls, but at least 4 of them were good calls. So we need to clean up on the pass coverage, especially on third downs, bailing out a backup Denver team with a lot of injuries. You can't allow that many backups when you're getting off the field. So that's got to get cleaned up. So again, play calling on offense, stalling out on offensive drives, and penalties on defense have to get cleaned up. But again, big shout-outs. Tyson Alualu played very well today. Had a sack, had a tackle for a loss, several hits on the quarterback. He was in the backfield a lot today. I like what I saw out of him. Isaiah Buggs made a few plays. Once again, Bud Dupree with a sack and a forced fumble. Mike Hilton with a sack and a fumble recovery. I like what these guys are doing. Mike Hilton in coverage played well today also. So I'm really enjoying what those guys are doing out there. Mike Hilton on the blitzes is really nice. Those slot corner blitzes worked well today. Sutton got in there for a hit once. Hilton got at least 2 or 3 hits, including a sack. And also Edmonds got that big sack out of the slot as well. So they dialed the blitzes up nicely on defense. Special teams I want to give a shout out to as well. Good game for them today. Not only did Boswell make all of his kicks, but some good returns. Deontay Johnson actually returned a punt for a touchdown on a really nice play, but it was called back on a illegal block. I'm not sure who made the block. It was either Sutton or Hilton, I think. Somebody made a block that was considered blocking the back, so that touchdown, which was nice, was called back. But Claypool took the ball in the end zone on the next play anyway, so it didn't really matter. But Deontay Johnson, flashy on a nice kick return for a touchdown. Also made a few guys miss on a few other returns as well. Ray McLeod had another good return today. That's 2 games and 2 good returns for McLeod. McLeod is already way better than Switzer was in his entire Pittsburgh run. Ryan Switzer stinks. No offense to the guy personally. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm glad he's gone. Deontay and McLeod have done more in 2 weeks in returns than Switzer did in 4 years or whatever he was here in Pittsburgh. So special teams did a nice job today. Also, they went for a punt and the punter dropped the ball. The guys crowded the punter, and Derek Watt, the fullback on special teams, came in and got a hit on the punter, which caused the ball to go out of the end zone for a safety. So we scored points on special teams defense as well. So nice job on that play. Some of the Gunners today played really well, like Jordan Dangerfield made a big play. Watt's been down there a lot. Claypool was down there tonight on special teams. So I'm liking what I'm seeing out of those Gunners as well. So all in all, again, too close for comfort. Shouldn't have been that close with so many injuries on Denver. The backup offense did pretty well against us with all the injuries. But you still got to be happy with the receivers getting down the field. Ben looking pretty good and pretty healthy. The injured offensive line holding us up. The defense making splash plays, getting sacks and turnovers. Special teams getting returns, getting points. You got to feel good on all 3 sides of the ball, considering all the stuff we got through on penalties today. If we can clean up some of those simple things like play calls and staying ahead of the count, we can be dangerous. We're 2-0 now. We're getting some guys back. We're feeling healthy. We're looking like we have life on both sides of the ball. And I like where Pittsburgh is standing right now at 2-0. So what do you guys think of this game? Who do you think are your players of the game? And what are you looking forward to next week? Tell me in the comments below. I will see you guys again with another review next Sunday. Take care, Steeler fans. Go Steelers.